Welcome to the lazyfluency podcast, where we have casual conversations switching between English and Japanese so that you can learn from and with us along the way. I'm Joey.
And I'm Yami.
And the topic of the day is...
あなたは何系女子?
But before we get into that, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and or drop a review on whatever platform you are listening on. We appreciate the support. And with that out of the way...
あなたは何系女子?
Except we lied, because before we get into that, there's a shout out for our first two Apple Podcast reviews that we said we would give a shout out to, and that is to Riley and Kelsey. We really appreciate it, and we read the comments, but it's too long for an intro, but we really appreciate it. Thank you for the reviews. If you guys want to get a shout out at the beginning of the episode, drop an Apple review. We'd love it. Anyways, Ayami, the topic of the day. あなたは何系女子?
はい、何系女子。何系女子って、そもそもどういう意味かっていうと、なんか性格だったり、なんていうの、見た目だったりっていうのを、何系っていうカテゴライズして、分類するみたいな感じだね。
Yeah,
で、
like
じゃあ、
Pokemon.
まず、
Like
ポケモン?
Pokemon.
水系とかだっけなんだっけ
Yeah. Fire, electricity. Oh, I'm gonna get it all wrong. Psychic?
そう
Or
そう
electric, yeah.
そんな感じで、分類していくんだけど、当然ね、この地球上にはね、女子だけじゃないんでね、女子も男子もいるんで、男子、何系男子っていうのもあるんだけど、今日はじゃあ何系女子に絞って、話していこうかなと思います。はい。
Okay.
はい。ってなわけで、じゃあまず、アメリカで何系女子とか何系男子っていう時にどういう言い方をするの
I would say like a type of girl, but in this situation, it's a little different because it's more. I don't know if memeified is the right word, but we're not talking about like general tendencies. We're talking about like almost as if they were different types in like some sort of Pokemon encyclopedia. And this is mainly because of there are a lot of what would you call them? Like very niche bits of Japanese like culture or different industries and stuff like that. And we had a conversation about specific trends and types of women. And so we decided to make it an episode.
そうそうそう。ちょっと日本の文化なのかね、こういうなんとか系女子っていうのもね。
Some of them are definitely like at least if not exclusive to Japan, have a very large presence in Japan.
そうね。OK、じゃあなんか調べた時に面白いウェブサイトを見つけましてですね。で社会人の教科書っていうなんか書いてあるんだけど、なんとか系女子とかなんとか系ガールっていうカテゴリーで何種類あったと思うこのウェブサイトで。
Well, I've already seen the website, so this is a terrible question. So I'm going to guess. So to make it an awesome guess, I'm going to guess one. There's one type.
嘘つけ。当然1種類以上ありまして、全部でなんと122種類あるそうです。Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
ね。
I mean, it's probably not anything of an official capacity, but I read like a few. I recognized a lot of them, and a lot of them I thought I hadn't seen before. Yeah. So.
日本ならではのもあるかもしれないしね。そうそう。ね、OK で、当然カテゴライズするから、いろんな、なんていうの方面で、カテゴライズしていくのね。で、このウェブサイトだと、性格と見た目とファッション、そして動物系で例えるとしたら、食べ物系、スポーツ、食事、職業、あと分離選択。
That's way more broken down than I actually thought.
そうだね。分離選択っていうのは文系か理系かっていうので、
okay.
literature
It's like
science.
Yeah, in English it's like left brain, right brain.
そうかそうか。そう。だから理系女とか言うんだけど、理系の女子は理系女とかね。そうそう。そういうのとか、あと趣味で分ける。山が好きだったら山ガールとか。要するに趣味にガールつければ何でもなるっていうね。いいや。
Yeah.
で、その他もありますと。 で、まずこれ全部122種類あるんで、全部ね、ちょっと言っていくのは日が暮れてしまいますので、じゃあ私がちょっと厳選して5個ぐらい、ちょっと選んでみたので、それについて話したいと思います。じゃあまずね、一番よく言われるのは、肉食系女子とかあるんだよ。肉食系女子って聞いてどうイメージする？
Oh, I've definitely heard Nikushokuke. I've only heard of the Danshi version of this, which is the exact opposite.
草食系
Yeah,
男子、ね。
Soushokuke Danshi.
はいはい。
Yeah, I've actually taught some of my friends about this because I think it is not only a trend in Japan but also in the West, especially the US as well. But yeah, Nikushokuke, I'm assuming is like a dominatrix sort of, or not really a dominatrix, because dominatrix is like a more of a sexual thing. I guess a woman who's very forward and very assertive in a relationship. I'm not sure if these aren't exclusively in a relationship, but I think Nikushokuke is more related to in a relationship, or is it not?
relationship っていうか、before relationship かな、
Yeah, but I'm saying it's adjacent to like dating.
そうだね、そうだね。デイリング、付き合う前とかに、ガツガツ行くみたいな。受け身じゃなくて、積極的にアプローチをするのを、女子で、肉食系の動物って、例えばライオンとかいるじゃん。だから、
Yeah.
ライオンのように、獲物を追いかけて、積極的に狩る姿に似てるから、肉食系と言われるらしい。そう。
I don't think I've ever met a Nishokuke Joshi. At least, I mean, in Japan. In Japan, we're talking where this is the Japan women categorization.
いる。どうなんだろうね。私も会ったこと、どうなんだろうね。
I've only seen it in anime, and anime and real life share some similarities at times, but I don't believe in this instance it's that common.
確かにね、アニメのね、肉食系女子は結構ガツガツしてるからね。
Yeah, they basically make whole animes with that being like the premise of the show, not to get into a whole separate conversation.
ね。で、この肉食系女子になんか related してんだけど、隠れ肉食系女子っていうのもあるんだよ。なんか、見た目は肉食系じゃないのに、実は、皮を剥いでみると、隠れて肉食系みたいな。
That reminds me of how I think people see, maybe I just got it completely wrong here, but do you know Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo?
Like the cartoon, the American cartoon, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? Oh, you don't? Never mind then. There's somebody called Velma, I believe, in the show who it's a girl with she looks nerdy. She has like cropped hair, a bob haircut, and then she wears these circle glasses. But for some reason, people are also very like, they kind of project a lot onto this character, and I think they like the joke perception of Velma is that she's actually like, I'm pretty sure like Nikushokuke.
そのキャラクターが肉食系なの？
Not in reality, but I think there's like this perception. It's because the character is super like nerdy, but for the internet is weird, so then they perceive Velma as actually being very like forward and assertive, even though that's not really the character.
それ隠れ肉食系じゃん。見た目は。
Maybe, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
そう。
Yeah.
見た目はヌーディーだけど、みたいな。で、その隠れ肉食系の別の言い方で、なんかロールキャベツ系女子とか言うらしいよ。ロールキャベツってわかる？料理で。
ロールキャベツ？
そう。なんていうの？
What's the difference between cabbage, roll cabbage versus cabbage? What's roll cabbage?
ロールキャベツっていうのは、確かドイツの料理かな。日本、当然日本の料理にもあるんだけど、なんか中がお肉で、周りをキャベツで巻いて、
I've never had that. Nor have I seen that before, but I can imagine that. The ロールキャベツ。
で、そのロールキャベツっていうのはさ、周りがキャベツで、 草じゃん、あれ。草じゃん、野菜じゃん。で、一見装飾だけど、中は肉だから肉食系みたいな。だから隠れ肉食女子の別の言い方みたい
な。Yeah.
な。まあね、まあいろんな言い方がありますと。で、あとは、不女子ってわかりますか？不女子。私もよくわかんなかったんだけど。
I believe we actually have mentioned this one, at least as a quick aside. We have not done a full deep dive, and I don't think today will be the full deep dive either. But yeah, Fujoshi, I know. That word, actually, Fujoshi, has kind of a little bit been borrowed into English. Like, obviously it's a Japanese word, but sort of how people use the word manga and stuff like that. I knew people who identified themselves as Fujoshi. I'm curious about Fujoshi, who made the term, because it's a little weird for people to self-claim the word Fujoshi when it literally means like rotten child or rotten girl, I guess, in this context.
不女子だ、
Because it's
どうやって
腐る。
腐るなんだけど、あれもともとは婦人の婦、なんて言うんだろう。女編。
Oh,婦人の婦。
婦人の婦、女編に、
嫁。
嫁ではない、カエルの右側。カエルの右側でやってるよね。まあ、そう。で、婦人の婦なんだけど、そう。で、その婦女子がもともと元になってんだけど、それをなんかもじるってなんかまあちょっと変えてってことね。韻を踏んでみたいな。で、腐るになったわけよ。で、まあ多分婦女子知らない人もいるかもしれないけど。
Oh, so it was somebody else changed the word to refer to a specific type of women then.
多分ね。そう。で、不女子の意味は、BL、Boys Love を、がテーマの漫画だったりアニメが好きな女子のことを言うらしい。そう。
Yeah. This is probably one of the most common, and when I was thinking about this topic, the first one that came to my head. Because there's, like I said, I've met people even who aren't Japanese who identify as Fujoshi. And I know in Japan there are a metric, like a huge amount of them. A massive amount of them, to the point that I believe a lot. We did talk about this, I believe, but a lot of industries in Japan that were previously catered towards men, like in the entertainment industries and stuff like that, have now been overtaken by like women in terms of their like the primary people who are driving sales. So yeah. Do you have any friends? That one seems like you seem like you'd have the type of friends who could be Fujoshi, mainly because I feel like if you're nerdier, there's a chance you're more likely Fujoshi. Same with like a guy being into comics. Obviously, the difference being that for some reason Fujoshi only seems to be surrounded around gay porn or borderline gay porn, which is a whole weird thing to make a category around. That's like making a whole like category around guys being into lesbian porn. But like, but the thing is, yeah, I don't know. I find that whole thing weird. But so do you know anybody who's a Fujoshi? You have to answer the question.
今はわかんないけど、なんか中学高校の時はいたね。BL の漫画好きな女子とか、いたよ。
Are Fujoshis how forward are they? Are they like the weeb equivalent in America, where so weeb is like someone who is obsessed with Japanese culture to the point that they like kind of cosplay, weeaboo, where they're cosplaying. You'd call it like America kakure, although it would be obviously this is backwards. So kabure, so Nihon kabure. Yeah, Nihon kabure. But is it kind of like that with Fujoshi, or like how much do they force you to know about their BL if you're not Fujoshi?
なんかね、覚えてるのだと、そんなねそういう人たちと深く関わったことがないからちょっと微妙だけど、でもそういう人たちはなんだっけな、なんか休み時間とかにそういうなんかBL の漫画の話したりなんかしてる感じかな。あとなんかの場面でそういうBL の話題になったらなんかめっちゃ元気になるみたいな そういうイメージはある。
Just
うん。
is the I wonder. I feel like there's a strong overlap between normal Fujoshi and like simple like otaku, like manga otaku. But so, which is
うん。
why I'm a little confused as to why there has to be a separate category just for liking. It's so strange. It's
だから
I
漫画
can't
好き
really
の
think
中
of.
に腐女子がいるんでしょ。
I'm saying I'm not really sure of any other categorizations that have to do specifically around a genre. But this is even
う
not even really
ん。
a genre. This is just like a very sexual part
まあ
of.
そうね。
I mean,
う
yeah,
ん。
it's really weird. Like I know people who are really into horror movies or something called like horror junkies in English
あ
sometimes.
あ。
Like
そしたら、うん、
who
まあ、
just like
ホ
one
ラー女子かな。
genre.
うん。うん。
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It seems really, it seems very fetish sizey, like to and I watched an interview on YouTube with it, and it didn't do any good. It didn't really do a good job at changing any of my preconceptions. It's kind of exactly what I expected.
あ、そう。
People kind of acting like they're not horny about guys, but they're like, no, it's not about being horny, but it's like 90, you know what I'm saying? It's like 70% about being horny. And it's like listening to people talk about ASMR. I'm not sure if you know what ASMR is.
知ってる。
It's like when people get really close to a
に、
mic.
そ
Yeah.
う
And then,
ん。
and people are like, oh, I know it helps me go to sleep or whatever. And it might help you go to sleep. It might help you do all this, but like everybody, 60, more than 50% of the reason you're watching it is because of some subconscious. This is kind of nice in a sexual manner. That's my take about ASMR and Fujoshi.
ああ。
It's always something weird every time. It's like some woman like licking something in front of a camera or like scraping something in front of a camera, but she's wearing like a very
ああ。
low bra.
それもいいね。そのトピックいいわ。なんか ASMR かさ、その
Oh yeah.
なんか
Well, not
ね。
today though. We should wait.
まあ
What's
ね、
the
ナ
next
チュレだ
one?
ね。
Enough
いっぱいあ
enough
るから。
Fujoshi.
うん。まあ要するに、そうね、まあそう、腐女子はそんな感じのね、BL 好きな女子のことで、で、また他には、不思議系女子、不思議ちゃんってよく言うんだけど、わかる？
This one seems like a made up one that this website did. Do people actually use that term? I've heard Nikshokuke and Fujoshi, but this seems like a stretch. Do people actually say Fushigi-chan?
不思議ちゃん言うよ。なんか、不思議ちゃんっていうのは、まあそもそもその、なんか、多分、ジョイはハリーポッター見てないんだよね。からわかんないけど、ルーナみ
I've
たい
seen
な感
Harry
じ。
Potter.
あ、そう、ルーナってわかる？
Luna.
ルーナってさ、金髪で、ちょっと、なんていうの？ルーナは、
Blonde
わかんない。
hair. I only know the three
で、
main Ron, Hermione, and Harry.
いや、それ
I
は
don't.
わかるじゃん。普通じゃん。ルーナわ
Well,
か
I
ん
don't
ない
know
か。
who Luna is. No.
まあいいや。
Well,
そう
you don't know
ルーナっていう
Scooby Doo, so.
まあいいけど、ルーナみたいな感じで、その不思議な発言だったり不思議な行動をする。他の人とはまた別の、なんていうの、オーラだったり、を放ってる感じの人で、で、まあ、よく言うと、まあ、天然みたいな感じかな。天然ってわかる？
Natural?
な
In that
あ、
terms of tennen?
そう
Or are
だ。
you saying it
天然、
different?
日本語の天然はね、なんて言うんだろう。わざとじゃなくて、その、なんて言うんだろう。ちょっと、ドジみたいな。わざとじゃな
Oh,
いドジ
okay.
み
So a
たい
ditz, sort of. That's the
な。な
word.
のかな？ Dits?
Oh, so oh, you're using the word tennen as okay. I got the. It's a nice way of saying stupid.
あ、そうそうそう。そう。
in English,
naturally
there's a way.
stupid. そうそう。み
Well,
た
I
い
don't
な
think
感じ。
naturally. Well, I think it's like saying someone's homely. This is an older
Homely.
expression. Homely. It means they're ugly. Uh, or you say someone's very simple. I think simple and tennen seem very similar.
なのかな。まあ、天然、まあ、悪口ではないんだよ。
But
その
what's
天
that have
然。
to do with what's that have to do with fushigi?
あ、不思議ちゃんは、だいたい天然と多分ちょっと被って、結構被ってるんだけど、まあ、要するに他の人とはちょっと違うみたいな感じ。
Okay, so it's somebody who has terrible social skills then?
とか、まあ、そんな感じかな。まあ、ちょっと、その要素もあるね。 で、あ
Do
と
most
は、
foreigners fall in the tennen category from the Japanese perspective?
まあ、いると思うよ。
No, I'm just
まあ、
saying because Japanese don't understand what's going on. So does that make most foreigners just tennen by default?
いや、なんていうの、そのカルチャーで、天然とかってこと。わかる？
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
そうそうそうそう。OK。で、あとは、清楚系女子と、この清楚系女子っていうのはよく並べられるのが、清楚かギャルか、みたいな。で、
Oh, okay. I've definitely heard of Gyaru.
そう
Seiso, I know what Seiso means, but
清楚は、
I can assume
なんて言うんだろ
like
う。
a Puritan.
黒髪で、薄めのメイク。まあ、要するになんか、typical
Okay.
Asian look みたいな感じの。で、あんま主張しない感じの、なんていうの、おしとやかな、
Yeah.
感じを清楚系
Yeah.
女子って言って、まあ、ギャルは、ちょっと派手な感じで、なんて言うんだろう。なんて言うんだろうね。まあ、派手な感じ
Yeah, wearing makeup, tanning their
そうそう
skin.
そうそうそう。
What else
そう
did
そうそう
they do? Oh, like their eyelash. Well, the colors. I kind of wear very showy, gaudy colors.
そうだね。そうそうそう。
And
派手な感じで。
they're more. Oh, they're kind of nikshokuke. Gyaru and nikshokuke overlap, right?
kind of そうだね。多分ちょっと被ってる場合もあるのかな。まあギャルによってもさ、その装飾系にいる人もいるかもしれないし。だって、あれをギャルっていうのは多分見た目をギャルっていうのかな。わかんない。ギャルの人が聞いてたらね、ちょっと定義違うよとかなるかもしれないけど、まあ、要するに派手な見た目をしてる感じかな。
This was like a huge thing back, at least the perception of it in the West maybe was a lot bigger within like the mid 2000s through like sort of mid 2000s, 2010s. I remember hearing and seeing a lot about Gyaru, or maybe this is just a memory that wasn't accurate, but I feel like the Gyaru trend has kind of died pretty hard. Have you seen like actual like Gyaru in Japan like nowadays?
なんかね、今のギャルは、なんて言うんだろう。黒いさ、メイクとかしてなくて、なんかもっと、なんだろうね、馴染んでる系のギャル。なんか昔のギャルはさ、全部黒く塗って、結構オーバーなメイクみたいな。
Yeah.
とかだったんだけど、今はあんま見ないね。まあ、ちょくちょくいるけど、そんなマジョリティではない気がする。
I've wanted to meet somebody just because, like I said, I'm very interested in. I've never met I wouldn't even say I've met really nikshoku danshi. Like there's the assertiveness level of the average Japanese person is so low that I have not really met someone who I felt like is like, wow, this person has a presence. You know what I'm saying? They walk into a room and everybody's like, wow, this person took over the whole room. Like I think I told you when I went to this conference, this environmental conference in Japan, it's partially, I mean, a huge portion of it was because the Japanese people there couldn't speak English and everything was like being held in English. But like the whole conference was just like even though there were like 60% of the room was Japanese people, it was just them sitting and staring down as me, this person from the UK, and this person from Australia were taking up all the airtime. Which I thought was funny. It was like held in Japan, but not a single Japanese person could get a word in. I apologize to those Japanese people.
で、日本人よく下向きがちだからね、歩くときとかも目合わせたくないから。
Yeah.
そうそうそうそう。あと、まあ、サバサバ女子とかね、あるんですよ。そう。
What's サバサバ女子？
サバサバは、なんて言うんだろうね。ぶりっ子の反対なんか、反対かどうかわかんないけど、要するに、大体反対で、なんて言うんだろう。自立してて、女性を感じさせない。素直、前向き、他人に依存しない。他人に興味がない。
興味がない。
なんて言うんだろう。あんまり。
Does that mean they're like narcissistic? Or
違う、なんて言うんだろう。他人にその悪口 悪口言われても気にしないみたいな。
Okay, so yeah, kill me in the
あと
sense
わ
that they are self-confident, so they do not,
そう
I guess,
そうそう。で、
get
悪口も言
value
わない
from
みたいな。そう
others.
そううん。
But I know you wanted to talk about burrito, right? Because we're
So-
kind of
so-
approaching the end of the section.
ね。
You got some strong feelings against burrito.
ね、これ時間大丈夫
Well, yeah, you can give yeah, go for your. Well, I mean, you got to get your hatred towards burrito out. That was like one of the inspirations for the whole section.
結構長くなるよ。もうさ、別のさ、エピソードでさ、ブリコ一つについて。
Okay, fine. Well, if somebody asked about burrito and I guess this is one of. I have a billion rants. She has a few, and this is one of them. So if you want to know what burrito is, ask about it. We might respond in like the end of the next episode in the questions if you ask.
そうだね。
Why does Ayami hate burrito?
まあね、はい。
戻った次のセクション。
We're back.
今回めっちゃ怒ってる。
おこジョイ。
なぜ怒ってるか気になる？
な
もう答え知ってると思うんだけど。いや、気にならないの。
Well, actually, yeah, I'm interested in why you got so
大
angry.
体、そう。あやみと同じ、怒りと思うんだけど、でも今週、あやみと私が全然違う状況なんだけど、その結構長時間電話してた。その誰かと言うと、会社の店員さんと、
Yep, yeah.
私の場合、そう、AT&T の話してたんだけど、すごく苦しかった。
So what,
今でも
first,
解決されてない問題は。
like, you have to explain what AT&T
ほとんどの、
is, like,
まあ、
yeah.
欧米の方知ってると思うんだけど、日本人と
Yeah.
欧米以外の方のために、AT&T は携帯会社という、
Yeah. 携帯会社。
そう。携帯会社っていうか、そのインターネットのサービスを雇ってる会社。
通信会社。
通信会社、そう。
Yeah.
携帯を作らない。
Mm-hmm.
私が3ヶ月前、いや、そう、3ヶ月前ぐらいに新しい携帯買ったんだけど、もう買ったというか、前の携帯壊れたせいで、新しいの欲しかった。それで、その AT&T が取引があったから、その取引かというと、その元の私が使ってるのは Galaxy 系のサムサン携帯なんだけど、その携帯の代わりに新しいのを$800オフでもらえること。
Yeah, that's a big
で、
discount.
うん。
Yeah.
私の場合だと全然問題なかったんだけど、兄が同じことをやったんだけど、その、なんか3ヶ月間、その、トレードインしたときと今までの。
下取りかな、トレードイン。Yeah.
そう、下取り。で、3回も、その、なんていうか、支払いの時に、その、取引が、アプライされてなかった。全然。
ね。So it's against the contract you made to them, right?
いや、それは、まだ言ってない。その、なんていうか、私がその AT&T の人に電話をかけたときに、結構長い話になるんだけど、それでその話言わない、ほとんどの内容なんだけど、2時間ぐらいの電話してきて、何も、なんていうか、その AT&T の店員さんが、じゃあ、上位が何も、私の兄が何も悪いことやってない。完全に、なんか自分のせいじゃない。AT&T のせい、なんていうか、なんだけど何もできない。私たちが兄の携帯の代わりに何もしてないんだけど、それは会社のせいなんだけど、何もしてあげられない。と言ったのですごく悔しかった。でもなんかもう一度その電話かけたんだけど、その今の時点で多分5時間ぐらい AT&T の人と話してたんだけど、
What? Today?
そう。いや、今日は2時間、
Okay.
一昨日は
in
3
total?
時間ぐらい。
Okay, okay. So
So-
yesterday you called for 3 hours and today
いやいや、
you
一昨
called
日。
for...
そう。day
Ah,
before
okay, okay.
yesterday.
Okay, okay.
そう。でも、まだ解決されてない。その、何が起こったかというと、私の携帯が、私のではなく、兄の携帯が、何でしたっけ、あゆみがさっき言ってた、トレーディング。
下取り、
下取りされてなかった。その、リサイクリングのために他の場所に送られたみたい。でもそれが AT&T、そう、会社がやってたこと。私の問題じゃない。
Yeah,
そう。
yeah, exactly.
それで、ついになんか、優しい店員さんが、これは絶対になんか、あなたの問題じゃないので、絶対解決できます。それで、なんか今、何でしたっけ、その店員さんが言ってたこと。そのケース、新しい、なんか、その最も高いのレベルの人たちの、ためのケースを作った。それで、そのケースが解決するときに、まあ、必ずじゃないんだけど、私の、なんていうか、その本当の取引もらえると嬉しい。それがアップデートなんだけど、あゆみは結構今週も、そういう、なんていうか、なんか、とても悔しい電話の話があるでしょ。
Yeah. How should I put this? So there's a project for the main channel,
そ
right?
う、ネタバレしない。そう。
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try to like not spoil the... Yeah. I'm not gonna review the entire story because this is for the main channel. But so I called maybe 4 companies for the main channel. And so how do I say? I requested that I wanted to film. Like,
そう。
yeah. But they rejected because they said that if I film there, then that's gonna like disturb, like
迷
bother.
惑。そう。
Yeah, other customers.
そう。
So yeah, and I got rejected
まあ、
for
それだけじゃなくて、その rejected だけではない。そのみんなが、じゃあ、なんか私が決めることじゃない。盗撮できるかどうかは本部に聞かなくちゃいけない。
Yeah.
で、私たち
so
が
first,
その動画撮りたい場所は結構、大手会社
yeah.
なんだけど、その動画の、なんていうか、内容はすごく、なんていうか、誰も映さない。本当に、健全なものだと思うんだけど、その、店員さんにとって、なんか最大の、なんていうか、自信みたいなものだった。その、いや、絶対にはしてはいけない。本部に聞かなくちゃいけないみたいな。それで、あゆみんが多分8回ぐらい、まあ10回ぐらいの電話をしなくちゃいけなかった。それで、ほとんどじゃなくて、全部の会社は結局ダメ。だった。
Exactly. Yeah. So first, I went to the store like directly and then asked to whether I can film there. But they said no, and also they said I had to go to the headquarters. I mean, like I have to call
Contact
the headquarters.
the HQ.
Yeah, contact. Yeah. And I did, and I called the customer center. And and went to the headquarters. That offer went to the headquarters, but the headquarters said, no. So
他の人の
basically,
迷惑になるから。
yeah. So that's why, like, even though I said I am not gonna like film people, like, but they said that it's impossible. So, yep.
それで今ちょっと困っちゃってるんだけど、他のやり方は考えたので、全然気にしないでください。リスナーさん、絶対にうまく動画作れるよ。
Yeah, but to be honest, we were expecting that we could like film
アメリカ
inside
ン
the store.
まあそ
It's a bummer.
う残念。
すごい。
And we're back with the final section, which
はい、戻
means
りました。
that you should send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com with a comment, language related and otherwise, or drop a review like our first two people did on Apple Podcasts. I also actually checked, I think, and I couldn't find Spotify Apple reviews. I'm not sure if other platforms have reviews for their other stuff, but Apple does.
うん、Apple はあるよ。そのレビュー書くところ。うん。
And we are extremely grateful and happy. We got our first two reviewers, and we said we'd only do the shout out at the beginning. But given that we have a question that's kind of tangential to some of the reviews themselves, I thought we could address them all. We won't read the whole things, but yeah, yay. But before that, as a quick like reference back to our episode last week, the god of commenting dropped a wall. Yeah, a wall that was very pertinent to social media that we were talking about. And it is very long, and we have other responses to go to. But there is something that I wanted to address from his comment, which let me see if I can find it. Where is the beginning? Oh, okay. So yeah, so basically there was one social media we didn't talk about, and it was Reddit. And I thought that, so I'll just read some of the stuff he wrote. So he said, Reddit has downvotes and can easily just get rid of and mark the blatantly dumb responses. I like to act some of them down. He's referring to TikTok. But I also work in marketing, and so it's important to know what is trending and how all the sites work and what posts get rewarded with people. And since TikTok is the biggest one, I need to know all about it and become a fluent user of it. So there were two things in here. This was a small little snippet of a much larger comment, but it was kind of something I didn't touch on, which I guess we kind of a little bit. But I wanted to mention how that, yeah, we are currently, both of us don't really have any tendency to use social media that much. And so although we are like promoting our podcast in various different social medias, it is like, it is physically, it is very difficult to do so. And the main reason that I guess I didn't include Reddit is I don't see Reddit as social media really. I mean, I know it is. I don't see, I guess in the same way that Instagram and Twitter, maybe it's because on those you're like, there's like some idea that you're maybe communicating with people you're close with, whether it be your family, friends, family, or whatever. On Reddit, you are obviously communicating with people with similar interests, but I guess I saw message boards is slightly a different thing. But what I will say about Reddit, yeah, but it's more like a tokoban or something.
掲示板?
Yeah, it's a kejiban. Yeah, kejiban. Yeah. So because of that, I thought it was kind of in its own category. Like I use Reddit for like finding information about different board game rules and stuff like that. But as a place of discussion, I personally am not as positive on Reddit just because of the fact that although I like their voting system for Reddit, I think it would benefit a lot more if the votes were hidden. So they still rank the scroll like from top to bottom based on the responses. But if they hid the ranks, I think that would prevent a lot of like mobbing sort of that happens on Reddit, where or like people try to like shame people by like mass dislike bombing or if you see something has a lot of likes, you're gonna give it likes, and the same thing with dislikes. And I think if people didn't know what the likes and dislikes were, it would allow for a lot more honest and less actively hostile platform. But I'm assuming it'd probably get less engagement, and so that's why they have them. But anyways, yeah, it's a whole like up. Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole system. Thanks for the comment. There was a lot that I wanted to address, but this week we have, as we said, we've been trying to get people to respond on Apple Podcasts, and so I felt we have to shout out our two bros being a gender neutral term in this context, who gave us our first Apple review posts. And the two things I want to point out from the post, just because there's a lot of reading in both the posts, because you guys left awesome comments is something that was touched on for both of them, which is our podcast having a half English and half Japanese, and the idea kind of behind it, and sort of a question that we got on our Instagram. This was our Instagram, right? This, how come you started this activity?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a question on our Instagram from Mosa200309, asking like why we started the podcast. And we may or may not have covered this in the first episode a little bit, but basically when I started studying Japanese, I wanted a resource like this. The idea behind it kind of is like, there's this idea called, I think, the 70-30 rule, or the 70 rule with like with language learning specifically, but I think general acquisition of information, which is like, as long as if you can understand 70% of what you're reading and not or what you're engaging with, but not understand 30% of it, then you're able to learn new material and in a very efficient way. But there's a problem. When you start learning Japanese or any language, you know almost nothing. And so when you're listening to like the stuff you have to listen to is really boring, like intended for literal babies before you can get some sort of engagement. So my thought when I was learning, is like, well, if you have it half English, half Japanese, you could engage with much higher, more interesting topics, even when you're a beginner of the language, but you can also learn at the same time because you're constantly getting feedback on your understanding of the content as people respond back and forth. And so, the reason we started the podcast, or I guess I was the person, I think Ayumi actually said we should do one, and we both kind of, I'm not entirely sure who first was there, but a big thing for me was because I wanted to create something that was not quite available in the way that I wanted it to be when I was looking for podcasts in Japanese. I think we didn't mention this a little before. Also, I subjectively feel that a lot of Japanese podcasts are either far too serious or they're far too like undirected. And nobody really takes hold of the conversation, and there's just a lot of dead air. And because of that, I was like, come on, there has to be something better. And I'm not saying we are, but we're trying to improve every week with how we structure and make sure that we have like half Japanese and half English, which I'm bad at because I'm a very talkative person. But
まあね、まあうちらのコンセプトはレイジーなんでね、なんだカッチカチの和とがの使い分けとかは全く言わなくて、そんなの文脈で覚えればいいじゃんって感じの人たちだからね。
Yeah. I feel like if you are enjoying the content is 1,000 times more important than like any other aspect of language learning. So as long as you have input that you can actually learn from and you're enjoying listening to it, I think it's more important than having 100% pure Japanese or like,
なんか多分ジョイはさ、もともと曖昧だけど、作りたいみたいな感じだったじゃん。ポッドキャストで周りの日本語のポッドキャストがあんまり良くないから自分で作ってやろうみたいな感じだったじゃん。
But I had an idea for what type of podcast I was looking for, and that was in my head. And then you're the one who suggested to make it more. Obviously we've kind of evolved. If you've listened to our earlier episodes, our sections to be more defined, where they're a little more like this, especially the second and third sections were kind of like all over the place in earlier episodes. But the section of having specifically not us hinging our podcast as like on anything in particular and being more casual was something Ayumi was focusing on, because she listened to other podcasts in the space and she thought that a lot of people aren't going to be interested in that as much. And I personally think on top of that, most times people are learning a language, like you're really learning, you want to learn casual conversation. So listening to casual conversations probably helpful for that. When I went to Japan and was stayed with one of my host family, or my only host family, not one of them. My host mom commented on my Japanese, and the first day we talked, she was like blown away by my Japanese. I'm not being modest here. You'll hear the full story. But then the next day, and we were talking about politics and news or something. And I went to a liberal arts school, so that's literally all we ever talk about. But then the next day, we just started talking about food and like dinner, just dinner options and stuff like that. And I just couldn't like. I was making conversation. It wasn't like I wasn't conversational, but she's just like, wow. Your ability to talk about politics is way better than your ability to talk about everyday things. And I was like, ouch, but true. It was kind of funny.
確かにね。だってそれのトピックに触れてないと言い方とかわかんないよね。だって私もさ、正直なんだろう、アメリカに住んだことはないからさ、そのスーパーでどういう会話をするとかさ、これ一つくださいとかさ、なんかどういうそのカジュアルなね、日常使うようなカジュアルなやつは多分分かんないと思うよ。だから、ね、そういった面でやっぱり、
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
まあそういろんなことにね、その触れて自然に身についていくのが一番だと思う。そう。
Yeah, I was saying that I also had a moment where I had to, during study abroad, call a garbage disposal. Like in Japan, you have to like, if you want to throw away certain objects that are too big, I want to throw away my suitcase, you have to actually, call to do it. And it was such a simple request, but because the person speaking Japanese was trying to ask where my house was located off the street, and they used ken, which is a counter for houses, and they said nanken, nano, and then I did not know what they were referring to because I did not know that ken I didn't realize what they were phrasing. Like I could understand the rest of their entire sentence, but because of that one word, I the whole conversation broke down, and then they were trying to explain to me what ken they were referring to.
And ken.
So like nanken, like the counter for houses.
何軒目ってことその
Yeah, 何軒目, exactly. They're asking, what was it? It was like 町から何軒目. And it was like, I was supposed to tell them like how.
そう、角の何軒目の家ですかみたいな、ね。
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
確かに分かんないよ、ね。
And because of that one word, I just like the whole conversation just exploded. And my teacher was the one who wanted to make me call in Japanese, but we got there eventually. But yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's the reason why we started the podcast. Thank you so much for the reviews. Really appreciate it. They're great, and I'm happy you guys are getting stuff from the podcast. That bell means we reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us in another lazy conversation towards fluency. If you have any language-related questions and or just looking for some general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com, and we might respond in the next episode. Also, make sure to check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey.
And then Yari.
Signing off. じゃあねー。